The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I don't normally take this route, but every now and then when I'm going to visit a kind of local comic shop that's not local, but in a different city, and I take I take roads to get there. That's a dumb statement. Anyway, when I'm driving there, I usually take this one route. And I've gone there like, I don't know, half a dozen times. And almost every time that there's been this weird, shaggy, homeless guy who's out there and he just stands like it freaked me out the first time. He stands like right on the line of the street, like right on the white line. And that's going to be funny here in a moment. You'll see. But he stands right on that line and he just kind of leans in and shouts at the cars. And it feels like he's about to jump out into the street, but he's just kind of waiting there crazy. He's got no shirt on, a giant swastika on his chest, just there. And clearly the guy has mental issues. He's like not this is not like a angry white guy on the white line. It is. I mean, he may be angry. I don't know, but what he also is mentally incapacitated. I mean, it's one of those cases where you see people like this, and you're like, this guy should probably be picked up, take somewhere, because he's not in his right sense of mind and everything else. But what strikes me is it's been like 6 months. And like I said, I've been there to stop taking this route like easily like half a dozen times. And he's always there. So it's like over the course of, I don't know, 6 months, a year, like over a long period of time, this guy's still out there. And increasingly now I'm wondering like, why is like, who's taking care of that? It feels like somebody should go and take care of this. And like, who's going to deal with this guy? It's the entire place. I'm sorry for this brief little interlude before we get to the question, but our entire society, there's so much. We got to take care of this. We got to get this person booted off of Twitter. I mean, if you post something that is, clearly like white nationalist propaganda or whatever, you get banned from the system. You get taken off of Reddit, whatever it happens to be. It's easy to do that. It's very easy because it's a click of a button and you're blocked or you're banned, whatever. But we have a actual living human being. I mean, that's people behind the keyboards aren't humans too, or maybe not. They could be easily bots doing this stuff. We have an actual human being who's clearly out of his mind. I mean, and that we're just going to leave that there for the road. I mean, anyway, bugs me. That's the challenge with where we're at right now is there's like really obvious things that we should go take care of. But no, it's like, we really need to police the internet and people there. And that's important. I mean, did you vaguely state something? I mean, anyway, it's crazy. What I was thinking as I pass this guy now is that he just took a photo of himself as he is with that swastika there and, started making YouTube videos, then there's a better chance he would get blocked, banned, quote unquote, dealt with than actually hanging out on the side of the road screaming at people as they walk by me, stumbling off into traffic. But anyway, be that as well. Oh, that's a hell of a way to start off this video, but it kind of fits. So where my head's at. So let me read this mail. It says, "Hey Perch, I am a member of several Reddit groups, and I noticed something that is really bothersome for comics. In one of the groups I'm in, if you mention Eric July or Isom, it is an immediate ban from the group. You can say, you can say the comic is bad, but even there, the mods prefer you use stars rather than actually spell out Eric July's name. Like putting a star over the U will work. However, in the same group, a number of the members regularly talk about how they read comics online via pirate sites. Every now and then, somebody will make the comment of, hey, you really should be buying these comics rather than stealing them, to which other people, including mods, will chastise those people for being judgmental. My question is, what hope does the comic industry have if we have official site, now keep in mind, Reddit is not an official site, but I catch your meaning. We have official sites that are banning people talking about one comic, but advocating endorsing piracy and theft of comics, which ultimately takes money out of creators' pockets. This seems like a major problem. What do you think? Okay, well, thank you for the mail. First off, you got to separate these two topics a little bit. It's fun to compare them, and I actually think it does give a hint of kind of the mentality of people. And it's why I started a little bit with that story. We are, so sorry. Let me be clear with one thing. I've not listened to July's podcast or videos. I've heard a couple when people sent, but I'm not a regular listener. Okay, so I don't know what he's into and everything else. But in no way am I comparing July to the homeless guy with the swastikas. No way, no comparison there. It's not what I'm saying. Don't be weird. Don't go off trying to do that. I'm not saying the situations are directly comparable. What I am saying is, it's the we're gonna do silly things that don't really matter to make ourselves feel better, while meanwhile either ignoring or endorsing things that actually cause harm, real harm. So in this case, the mods, whatever, these boards do not like July's point of view, podcast, whatever it happens to be. And in this case, I'm guessing it's his politics or his dislike of quote unquote woke content, whatever it happens to be. They don't like what he says. I highly doubt it has anything to do with the comic. Okay, I did get a copy of Isom. I did a review, didn't I? If I didn't, I'll do a review. So you asked for that. I will do that. Pretty sure I don't know. I lose track. But the comic is not. I mean, there's no this isn't a highly controversial comic. When you read it, it's not. It's it's gonna be a weird. It's not Frank Miller's Holy Terror. You don't open it up like, wow, there's some really controversial topics in here. Okay, it's pretty much a comic book. Again, that's not shade. You have to be. I hate the disclaimer. What I'm gonna do is just talk, and I'm gonna put a disclaimer on the screen. Is that we're in too much of a mode now, where people will take little bits and then they will misconstrue them out there, and they're like, let's see if we get these people to fight. It's like a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, people don't like the comic, mostly because they don't like the man behind the comic, and so they we refuse to hear anything about it. And they've enhanced kind of the whole atmosphere around that comic now, to where it's like, oh, it's not the comic, it's the guy behind it, or it's not the guy behind it, it's all the fans who are toxic, or anyway, they'll go on and on about that. But simultaneously, as you say in the mail, they will endorse, and it is theft. I mean, look, again, no judgment. If that's how you're reading your comic, that's your business. I'm not your mom or your dad. Maybe your dad a little bit, but I don't know. Have you talked to your mom lately? You never know. Anyway, but I'm not. You live your own life, but one is harmful to the industry, and one is kind of, let's say, irrelevant to the industry. What I mean by that is whether July is out publishing Isom or not doesn't affect whether you get to read X-Men or whether you get to read Faith. Well, you can't read Faith because they're not publishing it right now, but that has nothing to do with what July's doing. If you don't like, his comic, it's extremely easy not to read it, especially since it's, it's crowdfunded. It's like, you're not even going to see it in the shop. You're not just going to accidentally run into it. It's not going to be accidentally placed in your box. It's really easy to avoid that comic if you don't want to read it. So, it's weird to get too hung up on it when you could completely avoid it. No problem. Barely an inconvenience, as they say. But the theft of comics or basically piracy, reading comics online, absolutely is contributing to the numbers going down. There's no doubt about it. It's not to say, by the way, that everyone who's pirating, if the sites weren't available, would run out and actually spend money. Most wouldn't. But when you look at things like the current X-Men series, and when sales are hovering in the 40s and 50s, 50,000. Yeah, but you go online, it's like there's a million people who love Krakoa. Well, obviously, those people aren't all buying the comic. So, it is causing harm. It does hurt both the publishers and the creators and their ability to kind of pay and do things. It certainly does. Again, if that's what you're doing, that's your business to whether you want to feel guilty about that or not. It's again, not mine. But, in the grand scheme of things of the board, they're not comparable. They're not remotely comparable. So you kind of have to, like I said, you have to separate these two things out. The July situation is the mods don't like the person, or maybe they don't care or don't really think about it, but they're afraid that somebody's going to call them a bad term if they let conversation go on, and they'll do it, like I do. I've mentioned July a couple times, mainly because, he is publishing comics, making money. We talk about all things comics. So he comes up, so I'll talk about him. And, that's a topic of conversation. When I do, people have given up, I think, but early when I do, I'd get the night letter. I'd get somebody like, you really shouldn't talk about him unless it's a firm condemnation, because otherwise people are going to think you're one of the bad people. I get mails like that, and I'm sure the mods of these boards get mails like that. So that's childish high school policing of activity. It's wrong. It's stupid. But most importantly, as I mentioned before, it's pointless. It's pointless because if you don't like that comic, again, easiest thing in the world to avoid it. Very easy. The other part, the kind of endorsement of theft, one of the bizarre parts of comics is how many creators actually do go, hey, yeah, man, if you can't afford it, no problem. Go to, read comics online or one of those places, and, that's okay. That's how I read a lot of my comics. There was a creator, not mentioning who, but a writer who's like, I still read my comics that way. I can't afford all these comics. And it's like, you're working for DC right now. You can't say that. Like, as somebody who's actively getting paid by DC, it's not good to say, yeah, I'm stealing my company's products. It's just that's in a different world, in a Jim Shooter run world, that would have been a firing immediately. You'd be blacklisted for saying that. Not today. I think that's a problem, and it is. But here's the weird part. I think comics have accidentally, maybe on purpose, slipped into this weird place where there's almost this expectation that the content is free. And the thing I blame is, and I'm not going to blame this one individual, but Eric Larson posted something fairly recently, said, our customer is not the reader. Our customer is a comic shop. Well, that's technically true. The publishers sell to the comic shop then sells to the reader. It's a B2B2C business. But in doing so, I think the mentality of some of the creators and some of the people in comics have gotten to be of, hey, we sell to the shop. That's where we get our money. We don't get our money from the reader, from the end customer. So therefore, if the end customer steals it, they're not stealing from us. They're stealing from the comic shop. And, so it's not really, we're not losing any money, which is a insanely stupid way to look at things. But I think that's kind of what's going on. And so there's this expectation of like, hey, if the customer, the person who walks into the shop, the reader, if they, if they don't pay for it, at least they're reading the comic. I'm getting famous. It's the same kind of people. Like I what is another point of view I saw? It's like selling comics is like Instagram likes. It's like, you just want to get as much visibility as possible. So if some people don't pay, it's still okay because you're getting the view. And again, that's an insanely stupid way to look at things. That is a quick trip to poverty, but that is, that's the mentality of a lot of people. It is why in these people's minds, they justify it of when they do their Substack or when they're selling more directly to the fan or to the reader, suddenly they get really pissed off about piracy. Again, there's the same individual who did a Substack, and the comic that they put up there went up on one of these pirate sites, and the creator lost their mind. Like, this is Steph, you're stealing from me. And so it's a twisted point of view, but I think that's the root of it. I mean, the problem is there's this expectation that, well, comics should just always be available, whether you have money or not. And the answer is no. It's not. It's a good. It's a service. So no, it doesn't just get to be available no matter what. And I think it's a major problem. Full stop. So, my short answer to you, the person who wrote the mail, is go to stop dealing with Reddit. Like that's your first problem. But it is peculiar to see that. It goes back to, like, there's some real problems in the industry. Comics not getting sold, the money not flowing through is a real problem. What one guy who's crowdfunding is doing is not a problem. So it's easy. It's again, I can't stress this enough. Really easy to ignore. And so I don't have a lot of sympathy for people like, we gotta really take care of this. Don't order it. Problem solved. If you didn't order ISOM, there is a strong chance you will never, ever, ever see it. You're now in a place where you have to go to a con and somebody literally has to come and hand it to you. That's the only way you're going to get this thing. So, and frankly, if it was in the stores, that's not different. We have to grow up a little bit and start realizing that if a comic book's on the shelf of a store, you don't have to buy it. That's up to you. You can just keep walking down that aisle and not buy it. So if the contents inside offend you, grow up, be an adult, don't buy it. You're not forced to do any of this. What was the it's kind of like Kelly Sue. How could I forget old Kelly Sue? Doing the if you don't like my comic book, don't buy it. Yeah. Okay. Truth. So therefore, if you don't like the comic book, don't go and try and like hide it and ban it and block it. Like it's absurd. Just don't buy it. Anyway, we do have to. The piracy thing has to have a reckoning or some level of answer in comics, or this is just going to continue to be a problem. And it is disappointing when I see creators supporting it. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail. Hope you're having a great day. And somebody get that guy over at Hewlin some help. Thanks for listening.